Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Everything Koshur, where we interview a bunch of Kashmiris around the US who are doing very interesting things. My name is Ritvik. I'm your host. Happy to be here.
Hi everyone, I'm Akansha. I'm also one of the hosts of Everything Koshur, and I'm very excited to be here having another episode and just getting to talk to wonderful, interesting Kashmiri people who are making an impact and kind of bringing our culture in, different ways into the cultural zeitgeist.
And today we have another interesting person, another musician who's doing some incredible stuff in the space, bringing the saxophone and jazz back into the mainstream. Prazul Wokhlu.
Hey guys, my name is Prazul. I am an artist, a saxophone player, producer, singer, songwriter. I don't know. I'm just living, making music. Yeah, super happy to be here.
Happy to have you.
Yeah,
So,
happy to have you. Russell, I'd love to learn a little bit about you and what drew you towards jazz and kind of how you kind of walked down that path.
Yeah, that's a great question. Could you reframe it in terms of like music in general? Because I wouldn't necessarily call myself just like a jazz artist.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll say it this way. My like pedagogy is in jazz saxophone, right? Like how I fell in love with music was the saxophone. So it started when I was like 11 years old. I just joined middle school band, and actually all they taught was classical saxophone. What I learned for the first 5 years was classical saxophone, which I feel like most people aren't super familiar with, but it's just like Western saxophone. That's like reading notes on a page. It's not like how you imagine the saxophone is today. And I just loved playing the saxophone, and I would be going to these classes. And I grew up in Texas, and in the specific part that I grew up, like the emphasis was all on classical saxophone. Also, like the middle school I went to was like relatively pretty white, and I think a good tone and a good playing was all like very like rested around like the Western standard, like the Western classical standard of like what being a good musician is. And I remember like I would always like add little things. Like I would be reading notes on the page, and I'd always like add little things, or I'll like improvise in a section before I even knew what improvising was. Because it was just like boring to me. Like I was just like I don't like just reading notes on a page. And then in high school, I like started taking lessons from like a jazz teacher because someone was like, "Oh, you should try out jazz." And it was funny because no one around me was really doing jazz. It's really weird. In the specific place I grew up in the Plano, Frisco area. And when I went to Frisco, I would say like it's not like it was like I was in a completely just like white school like for high school, but like I just think that like the pedagogy in Texas is generally just like geared towards like the Western classical standard, and no one else around me was learning jazz. So I was just like I didn't really have anyone to compare it to. I was just like a good musician meant like reading the notes on the page the best. So it made me very technically proficient, but I don't think I like really became a musician till like later high school, and then like honestly really I didn't really come into myself until college. So yeah, I didn't really even know what jazz or even music in general was until late high school. Like I would just listen to what was on pop radio. Like obviously my dad would listen to like Kishore Kumar in the shower like when I was growing up. But other than that, I would say like my music
yeah.
taste didn't really shape until like high school. My brother really got into hip hop. I really loved that. Obviously, I could see the like parallels between hip hop and jazz that I was learning at the time, and I just came into jazz because it was like something I wanted to learn, and then I really fell in love with the music. Saxophonists like Lou Donaldson and Bird, who's like that's another word for Charlie Parker, and Kenny Garrett, and like all these like saxophonists that I was like kind of following. I really just like started loving the music because I was trying to like sound like them. So I really think it was like late high school where I really like came into this, and I really like started discovering music as a whole. And then in college, I just like continued. Like I kind of gave up classical saxophone after high school. I just completely did the jazz stuff, and then it was less about learning jazz and more about like creating music. And the music I create is not necessarily jazz. It's definitely jazz influenced because that's like my background. Um, but it's like definitely, I just started like creating what I liked, and it happened to have different influences of different things, which I can talk about later. But um, that's kind of like how my journey happened in terms of like the saxophone. Um, I'd like taken piano lessons when I was younger, but I didn't really fall in love with music until the saxophone. Like the saxophone was like my thing when I was 11 years old. That was like that was it for me.
Was
And
there
like
anything in particular about saxophone that you were like, yes, this is it. This is I love this.
I just thought it was cool. Like that's how I view music and life in general. Like I feel like if you can't trust your taste, then like what are you doing? That's like kind of how I view it. So I just thought the sax was cool. Like I just thought it was sick. Like I was just like I want to be cool. I want to play the sax. Obviously every 11-year-old boy wants to play the sax when he joins band. So like they had like tryouts and they would like test to see like how well your like I guess mouth works with like the instrument and stuff like that. And I remember I went in and when you do saxophone, like it's like band tryout day, and my it didn't work. I think like the guy was saying like my lips were too big or something. Not in like a racist way, but like he was just like yeah, your lips are a little big, like it's not gonna be as easy for you. But like he I guess he could tell I really wanted it, and my backup was euphonium. So in an alternate universe, I would have been a euphonium player, which is like basically a mini tuba. It's a beautiful instrument to be honest, but I don't think I would be the same person if I play that instrument. I don't know. I also I was just like an 11-year-old with main character energy. Like I just wanted to be cool and play the saxophone. Like that's just what I.
No, I do. I get it. Like jazz is very main, like the cool, suave main character type, the
Yeah,
music.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
actually
crazy
went to
because
a
even
I went to a jazz bar yesterday and
oh really?
I had the best time because Chicago
Is
is
big in jazz.
I've
Yeah.
heard.
huge with jazz. I don't know if
I've
you've
heard.
had a chance to explore it if you came
I
out here
haven't.
to visit your brother at all. Go to the Green Mill.
The
Okay.
Green Mill is the classic, the historic club.
Very
Yeah.
like it's very famous. It's got like mob ties. Like Al Capone used to go there. One of the buddies in his like, outfit was a partial owner of the
Oh,
bar.
that's sick.
And it
That's
like
super sick.
closed down at some point during the 20s because they found out they were serving liquor during Prohibition. And there's all these like, oh, there's coal tunnels under
That
the
yeah.
bar to for a quick getaway for these guys. And it like
Yeah.
his booth is still there. Like it was such a cool vibe. Oh, they've got live music every day
That's so sick.
and it's like cash only. It's such a vibe. It really is.
That's so
Mm.
cool. It's so interesting hearing you guys talk about this because like it's so weird that jazz saxophone was not emphasized when I was growing up. Just search up classical saxophone after this interview, and it's like someone's like playing the violin but on the saxophone. It's like it's cool, but it's
Mm.
like it's not the way that saxophone was popularized as an instrument and not what I imagined playing when I first wanted to be a saxophone player. But it's so interesting how like the saxophone was completely like it is a European instrument. That's how it was created, but like it became popularized because of jazz. And like it was completely shunned when I was learning saxophone, which is so interesting and like where I grew up.
This might be a stupid question, but
Yeah.
are you familiar with Careless Whisper by George Michael?
Yeah, of course. I played it at many a gig.
I can imagine. A very
Yeah.
famous saxophone solo. Would that be considered jazz or classical?
I mean, it's like pop.
All right.
See, it's like I'm making these things about genres, but I also don't necessarily like thinking about things in genres. I would say like it's more jazz than it is classical. I wouldn't say it's like super classical. I would hesitate to put genres on playing specifically. I think it's more when I'm coming talking about classical, I'm talking about like the super like far sides of like I guess I'm trying to make a distinction or the point I'm trying to make is that like it was just like very interesting how like a specific like side of saxophone playing was completely shunned when I was growing up.
Which being the more improvisational jazz.
Like jazz, improvisational, traditionally like Black American genres of music, which was super interesting because that's the reason why it was popularized.
There's like so many aspects of why that could be. Like, a
Yeah.
lot of times schools will teach instruments as a different form of structure for people. If like this is like another skill that you can learn, and if you practice, you'll get good at it. And if you read the notes on the page and you practice the notes on the page, you'll become good at it. And jazz and like improvisational music in that regard is very like in a way like you can't really teach it, I guess, because
I see now I agree with that, but also my other thing is why is the other way better? Because the greats didn't read music. Like Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, they didn't read music.
Yeah.
Or I'm sure maybe they did. Okay, maybe they did, but that wasn't like their thing. That they didn't really like learn music like that, right? Like, and some of the greatest artists didn't read music at all. So it's just like my thing is like, why is that the right way? Why is reading notes on a page specifically the right way? Because some of the greatest people I've worked with and like known are not people that are like proficient in that way, but they're proficient in this way. I get why I learned it that way. Like I understand that, but it's also like why was this shunned? Why was exposure to this shunned, right? But
Exposure to it, I get. Like they should, if they're exposing you to music, they should expose you to all different kinds of it just
yeah.
to be able to inspire.
I mean, that's how you learn, right? You build the foundations by reading, and then you become truly great by, doing your own thing, getting your own influences. Not really, you're not gonna become great if you're just stick to reading music off of a sheet.
Yeah, I think it's like the doing your own thing that I think wasn't super pushed. There was a specific, it's like a Texas specific thing. Like I feel like if you went through the music system here, it's just like a specific emphasis on not creating but playing etudes that made you a good musician that kind of didn't allow for people to really like come into their own as an artist. That's, like I just think that like it's not art. Like it's not creative. That side
Mm.
wasn't creative. It's technical. And I think there's importance in that, but I think losing the other side is something that I missed when I was growing up, which I really came into my own.
So you said that you've started taking lessons from like a jazz saxophonist when you were in high school, but is there any moment or influences that you found when you were younger that really kind of like helped to shape your sound?
I guess
Like
before you answer that question, like what pushed you towards music in general? Like was it something you found organically, or was it like a push from your parents to like, oh, you should do music?
that's a good question. So I took piano lessons when I was younger, but I didn't really love it. I think I just really loved the saxophone. I have no explanation for it other than like piano was like fine, but it was like kind of something my parents forced me to do. I also like was an athlete, whatever. Like I swam, I played soccer. So I was like really into that. Like I did a lot of sports growing up, but I think I just liked playing it. I just thought it was cool. I just thought it was sick. I think I always liked music. Like I always like listening to music, but I didn't become like a music lover, like a that to like after saxophone. I tend to say that learning the saxophone got me to really love music because I think I understood it like on a more deeper level after because I was learning an instrument, right? So it wasn't necessarily my parents' push in terms of saxophone. Once I picked that horn up, I like never put it down. I think I truly, yeah, it was just like a love of playing the instrument. Akansha, you were asking something.
Yeah, just like I guess what were some of the influences that kind of brought you to jazz when you were kind of finding it?
I think that's the thing though. Like I don't think there were like specific like artists or like influences. Like I think that I started liking or let me phrase it this way. I started taking jazz lessons because someone like said like you'll be a better sax player like if you learn jazz and like I see that you like improvise a lot on your own like and like one of my friends was like you should take lessons. So there was like a jazz lesson teacher nearby. And so I started taking lessons from him and it was just like the songs I was learning. Like I just fell in love with them as songs, and then like so. Okay, I guess I can say like the first song I transcribed. So when you're learning jazz, what you do is you transcribe, which is you listen to like this person's solo and you learn it by ear, and then you like learn it on your own, right? So you try to copy them and try to mimic them, so that eventually that becomes a part of your vocabulary, and then you can make your own kind of sounds as like an influence. So the first couple of ones I did were like Lou Donaldson and I think Charlie Parker. I did like those two saxophonists. And the very first song I transcribed was Candy by Lou Donaldson. And it was just like a really good tune. Like it was just catchy. It was good. It was super fun to play. It was very different than like notes on a page because I was learning everything by ear. I had a chance to like I would like copy his solo, but then I'd like add in my own solo in that. Like my teacher would make me like add my own solo, like using his solo and be like a combination of those things. And that's how I learned how to improvise. Um, so I'd say like learning it again is like how I fell in love with jazz. And then at the same time, like I was really like my brother really got into like hip hop in high school. And so um and he's 2 years younger than me. So this was around like 10th, 11th grade. Like I started listening to like a lot of hip hop. Like I got into like Kanye and like I got into like Tyler the Creator, and I got into like those were like kind of like the entrance like hip hop kind of people that a lot of people did before they really got it into that music. So I think I could see the influences of jazz in that type of music, and then because of that, I just like fell in love with all of that music as a whole.
So you mentioned that you really started getting into the sax and into music probably when you started college. So what was your experience like through college? Did you make a lot of music? Was sax playing the sax a big part of your college life?
Yeah, I mean, playing the sax was definitely a big part of my college life. I went to Harvard and I studied applied math with a minor in music. I went to college, I don't think necessarily trying to pursue music as a career. It was always like a distant dream. Yeah, I mean, the saxophone was my main thing. So like my first year was in COVID, so in 2020, so I would like go outside because there's no like parties happening and we were all freshmen on campus, and so like I'd like go outside and just like play the sax on like the steps and like play over songs and like play with other people, and I'd just be like a saxophone player. And I was also at the time I was dual enrolled at Berklee College of Music, which is just across the river from Harvard, and like there's a program where you can take classes at Berklee while being a Harvard student. So I was able to do that. I eventually stopped doing that because it was too much of a workload to be able to go to music school and also do my like math computer science work. But yeah, I took a couple classes at Berklee during that year as well. And so like I would take lessons. I would just like I would play the saxophone where I could. It was COVID. And then by the end of the year is really where I started like I made my first song, which is like the most horrible song ever made. Yeah, I tried it out. I made it with some like producer. I didn't know how to produce at that point. And I sang and I played the sax.
This song was
And
Left Behind, or was this
no,
another song? Okay.
no. Left Behind, I can stand behind 10 toes. This is like a song that I made when I was like freshly 19,
Okay.
in my after my freshman year of college. And it's the first song I ever made. Like every musician's first song ever made, except for like maybe Frank Ocean is probably like the worst song ever. But yeah, I mean, it was just I was just trying stuff out, and yeah, that was when I first started making songs. But I don't think I so that was my year one in college, and then year two I like really got into my like math and computer science work, and I was always like kind of doing music on the side, but it kind of became like really secondary, and like there were like months at a time where I didn't even pick up my saxophone, so like that became really like pushed to the back. And keep in mind, throughout all this time, like whenever I'd pick it up, like I'd be posting on social media because I always had this like dream of wanting to do it, but it wasn't like really a possibility for me. I was like, oh, like, and I'd been posting like random YouTube covers of me playing the saxophone when I was like 13 years old. Like if you like go back in the archives, you can find them. So like it was always like a thing I would like post. Like I'd post sax covers or sax solos or whatever like online, but it wasn't really something that was like super forefront. It was kind of like, oh, I'm just gonna like kind of do it, and like that it would be it's like a dream, but it's like it's a dream. Like that's it,
The,
like I
the
need to focus
classic
on like
Desi Kid
yeah.
situation. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to do something beautiful and artistic, but my mom won't like it very much. So let me go get
Well,
this like really important degree.
I will say though, like my parents have always been very supportive of my music career. I think the only thing was like they wanted me to have a good backup, which I understood. But I will say like I don't think that they necessarily fully like this. I would go to music camps over the summer, like in high school for saxophone, like stuff like that, and that was all stuff my like mom and dad found. I think the only hesitation was the fact that they couldn't help me in this career. Like it was just like they're both engineers, like this first of all, obviously the career itself is like they have no idea how it works, but it's also like they can't help me with it, right? Like if I continue down my STEM path, it's like they have ways in which they can help me. So I think it was just fear, but it's so I feel very grateful for the fact that my parents never they didn't push me to go down a certain career path. They did push me to have that backup, to know coding, to have all of this stuff, like to know have these hard skills, because they felt that like that was very important, which I do agree with, to a certain extent, in terms of like, especially now, even in music, tech is starting to become such a huge thing. And it's good that I don't feel like behind about all this stuff. So in that way, I do feel blessed. But yes, there was that like pressure of,
Well, actually, that's a really interesting segue because one of the things that we want to kind of tie in when we're having these like talks with people on this podcast is getting an understanding of how your like background and your family life as part of the Kashmiri Pandit community has you know, influenced the kind of work that you're doing and the kind of art that you're creating, or, you know, if it has influenced it in any capacity, and just, you know, kind of learning how being Kashmiri has like folded in to this the like the work that you're doing.
So I okay, so that's a great question. Um, so I grew up in the Dallas area, so like I was surrounded by like every weekend was like we would go to some Kashmiri Pandit gathering. Like that was like, my Kashmiri crew was like those kids I grew up with, all my family friends, they were all Kashmiri. So I think like being surrounded by that was like very nice for me because I felt like I had a community and a culture to go to. But I will say being like Kashmiri Pandit and having like this community that I was a part of was very important to me because it allowed me to have a place in the broader like Desi community in America, if that makes sense. Like it gave me more of a I will say like as growing up, like obviously like I don't think I went to school with any Kashmiri kids, right? So like the people that I like related to that looked similar to me were in general just like Desi kids. Um and so being like going to these gatherings and having these things like largely just like allowed me to be more comfortable with my like Desi identity so that I could interact with these Desi kids and be just because like we're not we are Kashmiri pundits and but the broader like non let's say non-Desi community like kind of groups us our like our experiences in America are generally similar in that respect in terms of like how we interact with people outside of our culture. And so it allowed me to be more comfortable with my culture and then as like a Desi in or like as an Indian man in general. And then like yeah, I mean, I think in general, like Indian influences are like pretty prevalent in the music that I make just because I've become comfortable with it. I mean, of course, like I know like specific Kashmiri songs, like the aunties would sing like Bumbro Bumbro and like stuff like that. But I do think that like it in general, being Kashmiri Pundit allowed me to like be more comfortable and like have a place in the broader Desi or like Indian community in America. And so like because of that, I feel comfortable using like because in India like there's just so many different like musical influences that are like beautiful and it allowed me to really like love all the types of music from India. And so that I use a lot of like those classical influences in the music that I make, whether it's like in the percussion or whether it's in the melodies or whatever it is. So yeah.
That's pretty cool. I think in the last couple of songs that you've made are probably, maybe focused on Left Behind itself. Was that something that you kept in mind while you were making it, or was that something that you kind of, just because it's part of who you are, it just kind of came into the music?
It's part of who I am. I mean, I think you guys already interviewed with Shreya.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that she is more I mean, I'm not speaking for her, but I from what I've seen, I think she seems to be and by the way, she's one of my favorite people ever. I think she probably seems to be more influenced by like Indian classical and that kind of music. I would say that for me it's more of a like kind of just like came out. Like it added like for example, the drums in Left Behind are from are Haitian voodoo drums, which is like they're not Indian drums, but then I add like the doom daga like in the back half of the song, and also like some of the melodies like in the saxophone and in like the ad libs and stuff like that. Those are Indian. So I just think that it's more of a like it's not necessarily something I'm thinking about super forefront. It's just like kind of a part of me, um, and it just kind of like comes out. Um, but that's why like the collaboration that I did with Shreya, for example, was like so beautiful because it was just like a nice it was a nice like I feel like we both like express our identity in like slightly different ways, which was like really nice to see as we came together.
That's incredible, yeah. And now that you've graduated, is a career in applied math or CS still the primary goal, or are you thinking of, taking some time and just trying to focus on your music career?
Yeah, absolutely not. So in terms of like CS or math. Um, yeah, I guess I didn't really finish my like whole background thing, but long story short, after my sophomore year, I took a gap year to start a startup, which was like the intersection of CS and music. It was called Mellow, and it in April of 2023, it blew up. Like it absolutely blew up. It was like all over TikTok. It was an app that was basically combining, it was like short form sound, like SoundCloud. So it was like TikTok but just music snippets. Like it was a very simple idea, and it like absolutely blew up. And I was like thrust in the music industry. And long story short, that ended because it's an app that literally Spotify has that feature right now. So anyways, but so that was like my whole like into the music industry. It like if you search up mellow music on TikTok, you'll see like all the videos I made about the app or like kind of promoting the app. But yeah, so I did that. I came back after my gap year. I was like, okay, I don't really want to do this whole tech music thing. It was good, and it was like it thrust me into the music industry. I met cool people, but um like my heart really lies in music, and when it was like kind of dying, I wasn't really that torn about it. So I came back my junior year, and a guy named Nicky Yor who made that song, I got my head out the sunroof,
Oh,
whatever
that
that
song.
song. So he came to play at campus, and then I made a video on his song, and he saw it, and then he invited me on. And sorry, excuse me. During the gap year, my videos that I was posting about like saxophone solos on songs, that's when they like blew up. So like all of this was happening during my gap year. So I'm very thankful for that gap year, to be honest. And then an artist named Leve was touring that fall.
I was gonna ask you about her because she's one of my favorite
Oh,
artists.
that's
I
great.
I, I
Yeah,
listen
yeah,
to
yeah.
her. I listen to her music all the time, and I
Yeah, yeah.
don't.
So I feel like this is probably important context for like for when I talk about like what my future entails. During my gap year, I was making my videos. I did a video on a song called Valentine. She saw it, and she so this is an interesting story. She saw the TikTok, and this was in 2023. So she like had an audience, but she wasn't huge yet. She mutualed me on TikTok, and then she sent me a message, and she was like, "Hey, I have a song coming out in a couple weeks called From the Start. Will you do a sax solo?" And obviously that was a song that like really broke her, right? And then went super viral. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Like I love you. Like I love your music, whatever. At this point, it was like, cool artist. Like this is sick. So I did it. That video did well as well. I did sax solo on her song From the Start, and then that song absolutely blew up. She became huge. She got nominated for a Grammy, all that. And then she's touring in the fall. And at this point, it's like she's playing at 2,000 cap venues. And she's coming to Boston where I was in school. And I just sent her a message on TikTok. I was like, hey, like, I know you're coming in town. You want me to play sax live? Like, I'd love to do it. And she's like, yeah. And so then I just showed up, and that was a really cool experience because I met her, and this was like really when she was like really really blowing up. It was like she had sold out her tour, but like she was really blowing up at this time, and she was like, I don't know if she got nominated for a Grammy or anything yet, but like it was like she was really on the edge of like becoming really big. So that happened, and I remember that semester was really great for me, and I was like, okay, I'm really pursuing the right path. Like, I love this. Like, I love doing music. I obviously want to create my own music, but for now, like being invited by these artists and like playing the saxophone with them, like that's really cool. So I just did that, and I just kept posting videos. Um, yeah, after that concert, it was cool. I kept doing the same thing, and then that's when I started making music, which is like my junior spring of college. And then through the summer, I just made music, and then I really fell in love with just like creating music. So to answer your original question, which is, do I like what the goals are? I mean, so I just graduated in May. Currently, I'm taking another gap year, to just live at home and pursue this thing. Um, I want to take it as big as I can go.
Performing for like opening for Love, was that your first experience at like on like a grander stage? And is that what
Yeah,
you
that
is
that
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 what you
was
want to
like that was
see yourself doing?
yeah. I mean, I want to see that, but I'm the artist that people come to see.
Yeah, 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 of course.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So obviously, I think my thing is saxophone. Like that's my. I think like I'm more of a producer artist. I would say necessarily. Like for example, like Shreya's like an incredible vocalist. Like I can't compete with people like that vocally, which is why like. But also my greatest influence is like just as a music just as music, let me just say that, are like Kanye West, like Tyler the Creator. I love Sade. I love Dijon. So like,
Sade is wonderful.
oh,
Kanye
Sade.
West, as a pure producer, I love the disclaimer that you put on that. Like, in this day and age, it's like desperately needed. It's like I don't endorse anything else he does,
Yeah, yeah. I'm literally
but
just saying I mean, obviously Kanye West became huge because of his music, and maybe other negative things too, but mainly that's how we started out,
right.
and so that's I'm referencing the music, but I love Sade. Lovers Rock is like an incredible album. Um, Jeff Buckley, I love Jeff Buckley. Yeah, I don't know, but Michael Jackson, I love Michael Jackson. But those are, I mean, it's a combination of like, producers and like also vocalists and all of that thing. But I think for me, there's a space as this like saxophonist, producer, artist type, and that's kind of really what I'm trying to go for. Yeah, so that's, I'm just like making the best things I can make, and if I think it sounds good, then I put it out, and if people happen to like it, then that's even better. Um, so that's kind of how I've been approaching making music, um, and we'll see how it goes. But yeah, to answer your question, I mean, this is the goal. I have given myself a year of no salary post grad to try to make this work. But even if I do need to get a job, like that will just be to fund my career. So the goal will always be this music thing. So like the job, like I would rather get a lower paying job to have time to do my music, if that makes sense. Like the goal is always going to be music.
Yeah, being focused on your dream, that's even that's pretty much what Shreya was saying as well. Like, that's very important. You probably need to get a job to fund the career, but you got to be pretty focused on
Yeah,
what you want.
and yeah, I mean, it can happen at any time. It like things happen, but it's a very me and Trey have had many discussions about this, but it's a very like up and down career. Like, and she's gone through it way more than me, but it's just like the highs are really high and the lows are low because it's like something you put your heart and soul into, and eventually it starts getting to a point to where, and I'm trying to wrestle with this myself, is like I think right now I'm kind of in a place where I'm trying to grieve the dream of what I thought life would be like, right? Like I need to detach myself. I'm trying to get come to terms with detaching myself from this like big dream I have of like whatever being the star and like having like a bunch of people listen to my music and being able to perform these big venues, because I think when you start thinking about that, that starts like infiltrating art. And it's very, very hard in today's like social media landscape day and age to not have that infiltrate the art. So, it's tough because like I need to keep remembering why I started this, which is because I love making music and playing the saxophone. So,
If there's an artist that you would want to that collab with or open for now, like who would that be? Who would be like, obviously the end goal is performing yourself, you're the main artist, but
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah. No,
who
I
would
mean,
be an
I would love,
artist?
there's many artists I'd love to open for. There's this artist called Hanuman Kind, who's like
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
super
super.
sick.
He blew up last year.
Yeah, yeah. So my new song actually, Stuck in Your Mind, that I just released on Friday, has recently it's been doing well online. Like on TikTok, I posted the sound a few times, and a lot of people have been saying that it reminds them of a Hanuman Kai song, which is awesome. I mean, I think he's super sick. I think he's the next brown rapper to do it after Nav. So he's cool. He's super sick. There's an artist that I really love. His name is Malcolm Todd. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Okay, his viral song was like that song. It was like I love.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I know it.
He had that viral song, but other than that, I've been following him since December 2022. He had like no monthly listeners, and now he's like huge. He's like selling out shows. He like played Camp Flogna. Yeah, so I'm a big fan of him. So I would love to work with him or open for him.
I
Super,
guess
super sick.
I have like two questions, I guess. Like the one question I'm interested in, second question uh probably the last question for the interview for the podcast if Akansha doesn't have anything more to add on. One is the first question is uh do you feel like you're starting to get pushed towards doing clickbaity things like just so you get viral on social media because that's what a lot of people do to become viral. They do some like unhinged stuff. Do you feel like that's something you're thinking about, or you want to stick to the music?
Um, well, I'll say one thing. The music industry's never been just about the music. Like it just never has been just about the music. I think to be super successful and have a long-standing career, you have to have incredible music. But I can't just focus on the music because it's never just been about the music. Now, am I going to be posting things that I can't stand behind? No. Um, can I stand my behind myself right now like shirtless, wearing sunglasses, playing the saxophone, like I don't know, like moving my hips to like Careless Whisper? No. If one day I decide like, oh, I can stand behind this and I won't be embarrassed if like someone calls me out on it, then fine, I'll do that, you know? But I think for me, it's like, yes, I do feel pushed to do things for social media, but never something I can't stand behind. For example, like when I do my sax solos, I'll do like, what if this song has a saxophone solo? I don't like doing that intro. I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I don't like doing that intro. I hate refilming it every time. I use the same audio, by the way. Like it's the same audio. I just overdub it every single time because I don't want to re-record it on the mic. But that's why people watch, and it's not like anything embarrassing. It's just like that's why people tend to stay for the video when I do that intro. So I do the intro, and it's helping people come see me more often, right? Um, I think there's that side, and then there's also like it doing clickbaity things in the actual music. And that's when it starts getting a little, that's when it starts becoming like TikTok music, right? Like
I
there's a
was
difference
gonna say
between,
because like the I was talking about it with a friend of mine, like the TikTokification of music, where people will produce, 10, 15 seconds to make it so that it that snippet can go viral, but then the rest of it is just so mediocre. Like one of the examples that I can think of the most clearly was that one Sam Smith song, the
oh, the
like
one he did with Kim Petras.
yes, that one clip of the like the bridge
Oh, like
went
Unholy,
viral.
whatever. Yeah, yeah,
Unholy, yes.
yeah.
And when the whole song ended up coming out, it was kind of lukewarm. And it was just that like 15 seconds that were really, really good.
Yeah.
But I kind of hate it.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I mean, I don't know how much time you guys have, but like, it's just such an interesting music business topic. I love talking about music business stuff. This was a couple years ago, I would say. I think Sam Smith could get away with it because he already had a long-standing career, obviously. But yeah, I'd say that like there are people that do that, but those aren't the people that stick around. Like Leve is not there because she just made 15-second snippets and posted it online, right? Like Leve made full songs. I try to view it in more of like a freeing way. So for example, right now, the intro of my song is like has gotten a lot of views. That my new song that just came out. The intro has come out because it's like a saxophone like dry solo without anything behind it, and it like drops into this like kutu beat, right? Like the super like hard like Indian core beat, right? Like, but I made the full song before I posted that snippet. The full song was done. So I really think the way I think about it is like I make the full song, and then when I make the full song, then I'm like, okay, what part of this do I think will do well on TikTok? And if anything, I feel more freed by that because I'm like, okay, this part is really good, but I don't necessarily need to build the song around this. Like if the song is good and a specific part is what I think will do well on TikTok, that's exactly what Malcolm Todd did because I think he has like really great music, and he would do like little snippets of his songs, but like the song would all feel the same. Like the entire song would feel, and it was creative and it was different, and he was able to get away with being creative and different by having snippets that did well. So like the entire song doesn't need to be like a cookie cutter pop song,
Mhm.
while like you're like, okay, this specific part will do well on TikTok, but I don't have to like I can add like 1 minute long saxophone solo here, like because it sounds good. But like if back in the day when it was just the Spotify algorithm, like you had to hit the chorus in the first 30 seconds, you had to do this, you had to do this, otherwise people won't listen anymore. So I try to view it like in a good way, and I think that people do that, but those people don't stick around. So it's like,
Right, yeah, that's like the theory of like the TikTok artist of
yeah,
like they make
yeah,
they make this song and it goes super viral, but then they just can't build on that success because not every song can go super viral.
yeah,
Or like if they come up with like a really catchy hook and they're
yeah.
like, "Oh yeah, this is going to go viral," but then they can't kind of flesh it out around that. They just like fall flat.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. It's really tough. So that's why I think that most of those artists are gone now. Like they're not like having a viral TikTok sound doesn't really in like 20 between 22 2022 2020 to like 2022 maybe beginning of 2023 record labels were signing anyone that had a viral sound. Then they realized that those artists weren't actually artists, or like they are artists, but like they realized that those artists weren't really like that, they didn't really have long standing like you know so there's so much that goes into making an artist because it's like your look, it's like how will fans interact with you, like it just you have to have a niche, like it just it's really tough. But that's why I do think that this now AI music is just gonna add to the slop of like TikTok music.
It's such a shame because like people like you and there's so many other like incredible creative people that like work so hard and like I said earlier like music comes from within. There's like a feeling that has to exist like and Priya talked about this a little bit too when we were talking to her and we asked like what your process was and she said that so much of her music comes from like intense feelings of emotion like when like things are happening in her life that elicit like very deep emotional reactions, that's when she really is able to like tap into that creativity. And that's where so many people have brought so much like beauty into the world. Like so many artists, like physical artists, like so much of their beauty comes from
Yeah.
pain and feeling and emotion. And a computer just can't feel that. And like I'm trying to figure out like what exactly this computer program can give me that like a human being couldn't give me 10 times over.
Yeah, I mean, I really think I agree. I think people are trying to compare it to like when autotune was brought or like when drum machines were brought.
Yeah,
But
but
it's just
people
not
use the auto tune, right? Like T-Pain sings into the mic.
exactly.
Use the auto tune.
People used it as like a creative tool, like new sounds. Travis Scott would not be Travis Scott without like him using it as an instrument, or like T-Pain, for example. So like my hope is that people use it as an instrument in terms of like I want a sound that sounds like an elephant, like creative ways, and not to actually create the music, but instead to be like, oh, like I want to make a sound like a saxophone barking like a dog, right? I'm hoping that that is the use case of AI, and like it's just in terms of like that. But even then, it's like sound design is also such a human thing because that's also the part of like when people create synths and all that stuff, like that's created by humans. Like people make that sound, and I took a class on how to make those sounds. So I am against AI in music, but I am also aware of the reality in terms of like major record labels are already hopping on. They're already playing ball.
It feels almost like a fad because like
I that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping
it
it's starting
feels
to get
like
other
people
people.
they'll put the money into because they always put the money into,
Sure,
you
sure,
know,
sure.
potentially mediocre ideas and then it'll fall flat because people will feel the way that we feel, which is like this is empty. This is soulless. There's nothing behind this. I'm not
Ag-
listening to it.
Agreed, but the masses are bots. Like that's why TikTok music would still like get so much streams because and make these or make these people so much money because it went viral on TikTok, even though the song was bad, it didn't have any staying like timeless power. And that's all labels and the music industry care about. It's just a business, right? So like there have been AI songs recently that have blown up, which is really sad. But like
That's awful.
yeah, they've literally blown up. And so now labels are playing ball because like I want money, right? So what I'm hoping is that like people are really gonna fall in love with live music, and like that whole live thing is really gonna like it's just gonna be a people are gonna go that direction, and then they're gonna realize that everything is soulless. There's no meaning of life if you roboticize art. So then they're gonna swing back the other direction, and it's gonna be like for example Olivia Dean, who's like recently blowing up. She's very like she has a very transparent like sound, and it's very live and it's very nice. And I think like there's going to be a kind of push towards this whole like real artistry and like humanness. Like I've started creating music, and like if there's a mistake in it, I'll sometimes just like keep it in because I'm like, okay, this sounds way more human, and now I'm competing
Yeah.
with AI. And
I
I'm just
mean,
like, not
for
like a bad mistake, it just adds character to the recording,
yeah,
right? And I'm just
like
like,
perfection is overrated because part of the human experience is like mismatched brush strokes and errors and little chips in the paint a little bit, like it keeps it authentic.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
if you have to,
unfortunately I've got to run. I am so sorry, but it has been such a pleasure speaking with you.
I
And
appreciate
I'm
you.
gonna deep dive your TikTok now because I was scrolling it a bit and I was
Oh,
seeing
okay.
like these like, what if this song had a sax solo? And I'm like, yeah, what if this song had a sax solo? Now I want to say, I'm like, yeah, what if? Now I gotta check it out.
That's funny. Thank you.
Well, thank you for being on our podcast,
Of
and
course.
we love seeing Kashmiri people, Kashmiri pundits thrive and do these really amazing creative things. And I'm really excited to see, what you're able to do and like keep up
We'll
with it.
see, man. It's a tough industry, but I'm trying. We'll see.
We're rooting for you. The Kashmiri community is rooting for you.
Absolutely.
I appreciate y'all. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your night, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot. Have a good night. I have to leave in like 10 minutes, but I guess I have like one more question for you before we conclude it. What is basically from your experience, through college and now that you've started trying to make music and started on that journey to make it big, what are some hard truths or what is some advice that you would give to someone else in your position who's trying to do the same?
I'd say the biggest thing is you really, and this is so cliche, you really, really, really should not care about what random people think. Because people like that are really like that have made it will never, or like that are like people that you should take advice from will never tell you that you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do this or like put doubts in your head. I think you really, it's very hard to tune out the noise, but the biggest advice I would say is tune out the noise because if you want to do anything creative, if you want to do anything, even like if you want to start a startup, whatever it is, like you're gonna get so many no's, and you're gonna get no's from like no's, you're gonna get whatever it is, but you need to tune out the noise. And you don't know what the noise is because there are people that you should take advice from and that could give you real advice, but like there's also noise. And I feel like learning what that noise is like I think the most important thing because then it really allows you to like be in touch with yourself.
No, that's definitely true. I think the way I think of it the same way, and the way I define noise versus like actionable advice is the person you're talking to, do you respect them? And are they doing things that you want to be doing, right?
Yep.
I think though that's something I always try to live by as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like if someone if so- like I would have like no names, but there would be people that there were some people in high school that were like completely shitting on me for like posting my YouTube sax covers or like whatever, like no one's gonna watch you, blah 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 blah. Blah.
No, you gotta drop names now. You gotta drop. No, I'm kidding. I'm
Nah, no, no, I'm not dropping
kidding.
names. They know exactly who they are, maybe, but I doubt they're watching the Kashmir podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I had a full thing like after high school where there was like a few kids from band that I was friends with, and they were like, "Why are you? We don't think you're ready to be posting on TikTok." I swear to God, they had an intervention with me, and they were like, "We don't think you're ready or good enough to be posting on TikTok." It was the craziest thing in the world. They're obviously not my friends anymore,
That's crazy.
and I hope they saw my Leve video. That's all I
Yeah,
have to say.
that's crazy. Like I don't understand the audacity for a bunch of people to come together and tell someone else you're not ready to post on social media. That's insane.
It was the craziest thing. But this is why I had a lot to say about like the education system in terms of it was really just like the people that were telling me this were like the good musicians. They were
Um,
like the people that had gotten to all stay and stuff. And look, I was also good, right? Like I was technically proficient, like I was considered one of the good musicians, but I wasn't considered like this like amazing guy because like creativity wasn't what they valued when I was in school. It was technical proficiency, which is
mm,
not what create the best musicians are, right? So,
yeah, yeah.
but anyways, but that's all I have to say. Tuning out the noise.
Yeah, that's really good advice. That's really good advice. Yeah, again, thank you so much for hopping on this podcast. It was amazing talking to you,
Yeah.
understanding your journey, your advice, and obviously getting to hear about, how you make music, your experience with Love. That was awesome. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be tuning into more of your songs and keeping track
Yeah.
because I already followed you on Spotify, so I'm listening to
Oh,
your music
great.
now.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I
So
appreciate
that's gonna be interesting to see your journey.
that. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you so much for interviewing and until next time.